Alrighty, sounds good. Thank you so much, Diana, for that introduction. I appreciate it. And again, if you missed yesterday's session, no worries. It was just kind of going overview of Academic Alliance and kind of our program. Really great content to see, but you're not behind for today's session if you weren't there yesterday. So you're good to go and ready to build an automation with us with Studio Web. So what we're going to do today is we're going to, as it suggests, build an automation with Studio Web. We're also going to have Vajrang talk a little bit more about Studio Web, as he is definitely more of an expert than I. And then we're going to go over some of the content that I would recommend if you like Studio Web. Maybe you would want to include that in your classrooms, and then we'll finish up with questions and answers. So what we're going to start with, I just realized I was not in presentation mode. Sorry about that. So before we begin, this was included in an email and on the webpage, I believe, but no worries if you did not do it prior. Oops, my apologies. My mouse goes rogue sometimes. We're going to save this Google Sheet to your Google Drive. I will send the URL over the chat. And then also I need to make sure that everyone has enabled Studio Web Automation for your browser. This one isn't as big of a deal. We can kind of do this as we go, but if you're having time and waiting for everybody else, feel free to ensure that this is being done. Studio Web can be done on both Windows environments and Mac environments, so that's why we have two different set of directions here, depending on who you are. Let me start adding some URLs to the chat. So this is the Google Drive or the Google Sheets I'll be using. As you can see in this screenshot, that's how you know you have everything set up correctly. And then also we will be automating with a web browser today as well. So we need to make sure that you have enabled Studio Web Automation. So for Mac users, you have to go into your App Store and then, I apologize, my phone's on silent. And then for Windows users, you can use the link that I'm going to also put in the chat. If you have everything set up, or whenever you do get everything set up, if you could just also put in the chat, like, good to go, I'm ready, or something along those lines, that would be really great, so then I know when to move on. So this is just a little bit of housekeeping that we have to do before we can really get started. Cool. And no rush at all. I am trying to get the link for the Studio Web Automation for Windows users. Let me exit out of the PowerPoint so I can just copy and paste it really quick. Perfect. I see we have one good to go. Happy to see that. Thank you, Karen. And then also Diana will be dropping a couple links in here. So we wanted to start off the session with just links and information overload, but it's all good stuff. So again, we're just saving the Google Sheets to your Google Drive. This is my Google Drive, and I have the unicorn name iterations located in my drive. And I have made sure that I can automate with Studio Web. And if you are teaching this in your classes and your students are using university resources, definitely something good to do before, just in case with permissions with IT. I'll give everybody a couple of more minutes. Thank you, Jim. Good to go. We got two. Happy to see that. Thank you, Joel. Ready to go. Katie, good to go. Okay. I'll probably wait till maybe 10 minutes after the hour, just because I don't want anyone to start behind. Good to go. Thank y'all. Okay, perfect. I'm so happy to see this. Okay, so I'm going to navigate to the next screens just so some people can get started, but I'll keep switching back and forth on the screens. Last thing that we need to do is to access cloud.uipath.com. So this is where Studio Web is held. So as you should know that Studio Web does not have to be installed onto computers, which is a great thing and why you don't have to have necessarily a Windows environment in order to run it. So what you're going to have to do is go to cloud.uipath.com. Let me zoom in a little bit. I'm sorry, Phil, I have a hard time seeing. And these are just the directions if you do not have an account. This is how you set it up. If you already have an account, just go to your cloud as you would. This screenshot that I included on the PowerPoint is when you know you're good to go and you're ready to start building this automation. So I'll switch back and forth between these three screens, but once you get here, pat yourself on the back, take a sip of your coffee, you're ready to build the automation with us. Thank you, Carolyn. Then I'm also going to put another link in the chat for the exercise that we will be building today. It's probably an exercise you've seen before. We're doing the unicorn name exercise. I know it's kind of a classic and a goodie, but I thought it'd be really great because I think a lot of people don't have a lot of background or experience with Studio Web. So maybe doing something a little bit familiar will help you to kind of see what the differences are if you were to build it on Studio X versus Studio Web. So kind of just a great exercise to kind of dip your feet into the Studio Web pool, for lack of better words. All right. So again, just going to go back to this slide. Everyone has saved the Google Sheet to their drive. Everyone has Studio Web automation ready for their browser. And everyone's accessed cloud.uipath.com. Once you see this screen, you know that you are in business. All right, I'm going to give everybody just one more minute unless I hear cries of no or wait or please or stop. We can go and get started. And also, as Diana mentioned in the beginning, I'm going to be, answering questions in the chat, of course, but also put them in there because Vedran is also going to be in there to help troubleshoot as I go on the exercise. So if you get a little bit behind or have questions, he's there, and Chris is also there to help with monitoring the chat of questions. Also, we're a pretty small group, so definitely feel free to come off chat too. I'll let y'all know if we start getting behind or anything. All right, cool. I'm not hearing any outcry, so I'm going to continue on. So again, this is what it looks like with my Google Drive. So I should probably find my cloud.uipath.com, huh? All right, so what we are going to do is we are going to first set up the link to the exercise appears empty, Joel. All right, let me take a pause really quick and re-get the link for everybody. And then I just like to include the link to the exercise just in case you do get a little bit behind. You can reference the directions to hopefully get caught up, but hopefully everyone's able to stick with us today. So 1 second. Oh, thank you, Karen. Okay. Let me try one more time. Link to exercise. Okay. Alrighty. Okay. So the first thing that we are going to do is I'm going to open up the directions myself and have it on another screen. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to go to our integration service. So our integration service allows us to make connections to other applications or softwares. So we are going to do that with our Google Sheets, and we're also going to be doing that with our Gmail. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on the main menu button here at the top, and then you are going to select integration service. Let me get my little annotator out too. All right, so I just clicked I was listening to a recording the other day and I was trying to hear what we officially called it. 1 second. Okay, so you are going to click on integration service.
Michaela,
Yeah, I just messaged you. So either you could try to set up a community license with a different email, or you could just reference this video later. All right, and then Phil has a tenant error when trying to log on. Phil, do you mind sharing your screen really quick, just so I can see what the tenant error is showing? Phil? Okay, perfect. Thank you, Phil. So whenever you were trying to use that one, it was not allowing you to. Do you have any insight onto this, Rajari, or any recommendations?
may I say something that I had this problem that you
Yes,
all has
please.
problems? You just need to copy the link to the right browser. It's possible that when you click on link, it went to the Microsoft Edge. So you need to copy Michaela's link and post onto Google Chrome. It will work.
Okay, so you need to try it in a different browser is what you're saying?
Yes, I think if you click on link, sometime it go to Microsoft Edge first,
Okay.
and then if you copy the link from Microsoft Edge to Google Chrome, you will have these issues.
Okay.
So
Thank
the
you, Phil.
solution is simply just copy the link from the chat and pass on to Google Chrome.
All right. Do you agree, Vishring?
Yeah, if you cannot change the default browser, I think you can go and just open the link in Chrome browser directly.
Okay. All right. Please try that, Phil. And then if you're still having issues, definitely.
Okay, so in other words, return, get out of this. Okay, so at this screen, I was going to do the login or sign in.
Yeah, Vajrang, can you help here?
Sure. Now that's not how you do the sign in. Can you please go back?
Okay,
Yeah. So what you're trying to do is trying to sign in into the web page, which is not going to work. So open a new tab and go to cloud.uipath.com. uipath.com. Yeah, hit enter.
okay,
Yeah, just go ahead and continue with your Google or any Microsoft or anything, or you can sign up. You can add a password and you can continue. Just click on got it at the bottom.
okay.
Cookies are going
I've
to
just
be
got to clear
accepted
my screen of the, yeah, you got it.
on the left.
Okay, now I
And
can see the password.
yeah, now so if you already have an account, you can go with this, or you need to sign up first. At the bottom, you have sign up. Go ahead and sign up if you don't have.
I should already have my account ready to go.
Mhm. Yeah, looks good. Just click on create an organization,
Okay,
and you can give the current or current region, and you can continue.
Yeah. Looks like you should be good to go. Let us know
oh,
if you
great.
continue having problems. And thank you,
Well,
Shannon, for sharing.
hey, thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks
Yep.
for asking. And if anybody else is having trouble, if you would please let us know right now. I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, I would have been
We
dead
just
in the
want to make
water.
sure you guys get on. Yeah.
And then you can put whatever you want for your organization name.
Okay,
It's kind of for you thing. So whenever I was first learning UiPath, my organization name was Michael's Cupcakes. All right. Awesome. Thank y'all so much for your help. I appreciate that. Okay. So I'm going to take over the share. Do you all see my integration service screen again? Okay. And then, so what we are going to do is we're going to search for integrations, and we are going to search for Google Sheets. And then once you have Google Sheets on there, you're going to click on Google Sheets. So again, I just clicked the main menu button, selected integration service. I searched in the text box, Google Sheets, and then I clicked on it. Well, I will click on it. All right. And then once I click on the button, I'm going to click this connect to Google Sheets here on the far right. And then I'm going to wait for it to load. And then I'm going to click connect. I'm just using my personal email today just because then I don't have to worry about permissions or anything with Google Sheets in my Gmail. But just make sure you select whichever account that you saved that unicorn name iterations file to, because we need to make sure that we're connecting to that one. Just follow the directions or follow the buttons as they kind of take you on the journey. It'll say then that your integration is loading and that you have been connected. So then it'll automatically go to this page where you can see the connector, which email address is connected, when it was created, and then the status of that connection. So we're going to be doing that for both Google Sheets and for Gmail. So I'll type that in the chat. So if you missed it the first time, no worries. We're going to do it again. So now what I am going to do is I'm going to go back to connector here at the top. And I'm going to search for Gmail. I'm going to click on the button for Gmail. Click connect to Gmail in the far right of the screen. Click the blue connect button. Again, I'm going to select the same account that I did for the Google Sheets. I'm going to use my personal email here today. Click continue. Click continue. My integration is loading, and now I am connected. So it says that I am now connected. All right, Carolyn, yeah, might just be slower internet. So hopefully your internet picks up the pace, but we'll stay on the screen for a little bit.
Michaela, can you explain why you had to do the Google Sheets separately from the Gmail account?
That's just how I did it whenever I built the automation, and
Okay.
it worked, to be honest with you. I haven't completely explored all the different ways you can connect. So that's what worked for me. I'm not sure, maybe Vajrang, you know, if I would have just connected to my Google Workspace, would it have done both Gmail and the Drive? I just did it kind of as the automation took me on my journey.
Okay, I'm very new to UiPath, so I may ask you some questions that probably shows my naivety.
Okay. Let me just add this. So instead of you doing all this, why don't you just go ahead, since you have created a Google Sheet, can you go into the connections once?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, since you have Gmail and Google Sheets in place, there is no need for other activities. If there are any other activities or any accesses that are required, it will be dynamically added up during the design phase. So you can directly go into the Studio Web and you can check with the activities. And if the activities require any connections, it connects in the background and connections can be seen over here. So I would suggest you go ahead and start with the automation.
So, and another thing also, Sonelia, is just that even with the most basic automations, if you tell one person to develop it and another person to develop it, sometimes you won't even get the exact same looking thing. It can be a little bit of creativity and differences for sure too.
Yeah, so here we are trying, basically, if I understand, you're trying to read something from that Google Sheets.
Yes, so we're gonna read something from the Google Sheets, and then at the end, we're gonna send emails with our Gmail.
Okay.
I just found whenever I was practicing
Got it.
this with other
Okay.
coworkers, it was always pretty seamless whenever we just set up the integrations to begin with, and it also highlights just another product that you have available to you with UiPath.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for asking the questions. So as my screen shows, I'm in my integration service and I'm in connections and I have both my Google Sheets and my Gmail connected. So then I am good to go to actually open up UiPath Studio Web. I'm going to go ahead and do that because I also want to give a little bit of tour on the Studio Web interface. So while I'm doing that, everyone can make sure that everything is all good to go and set up. All of the directions and everything that I've mentioned so far are included in that exercise document. So if you need to reference any screenshots or any text, please do make sure to also use that as a resource today if you need it to kind of get at the same page we're on. And then at Katrina, the recording will be on the URL, that community URL that was like community.com UiPath Houston presents build an automation with Studio Web. Later today, probably Diana will put that video on there. So just go to that URL and you can play it later. All right. So again, I'm going to click the main menu up here and I am then going to navigate to Studio. Right. All right, so it automatically got me to the automations button just because I've been I've been building this automation for the past month or two. But it might have you to, default to templates. It might have you go to somewhere else. But just so you know, we do need to be on this automations tab. So basically templates are just automations where you can just make slight adjustments. They're for things that are very common and you can easily personalize them so you're not having to build an automation from scratch. If you want any experience working with templates, we actually do have a course on our academy. It's called Introduction to Automation. It's a really great course. It gives you background about like why do you automate, how does it help people, how does it help the company, and the one exercise that they have you do with that is with Studio Web with templates. So that's a really great opportunity for you to see the power of templates. We're going to build one today from scratch just because I wanted everyone to get the most experience that they could with the Studio Web application. So whenever you navigate to Studio Web, you're going to want to click on the Automations tab. And then once you click on this, I already have automations here. So my new project is this blue button here on the far right. But if you don't have any automations already created with Studio Web, I believe usually it's a blue button in the middle of the screen that's like create your first automation or something along those lines. But basically what we're just trying to do is we're trying to get a new project. So whenever you clicked on the main menu, navigated to Studio, make sure you're on this automations tab as you can see in the on the screen right here, and then you want to click New Project. Whenever you get New Project, you can select different triggers for your automation. So basically triggers are just different things that can kick off the automation. Today, we're just going to do a manual automation or a manual trigger. So I will select this box right here. And if you're following along on the directions, we are now on page 5. And I need to get my annotating out. So just select manual automation. And then Vajrang Dobin put a question in the chat. So can you help him, and definitely stop me if you need him to share his screen. That'd be great.
Now, the question that he asked is regarding the permissions, and
Okay.
when we are asking for the permissions, now it only requires what must be done. For example, you just need to read the emails. These are the basic permissions that you can give or you will give for any automation, and the control will be at your disposal. Now, if you want to do any automations, if you want to add anything, you need to specifically write code for it or write activities for it. Until then, UiPath or any other apps will not be able to make any changes for your Gmail or Excel or Google Sheets. So the permissions are what will help you to do automations in future. Now, if you want to specifically give automation access only for Excel and don't want to give Gmail access, then use only Excel activities or Google Sheets activities that will have access or that will take access to use Google Sheets. But at the background, if you see to add any file or to delete any file or to create a new sheet, it should be saved in Google Drive. So to save it in Google Drive, you need Google Drive access. So that's the reason UiPath is asking, or you are providing multiple accesses like calendar as well as Google Mail, etc.
Okay.
If you don't want to do it, like, you will not be able to proceed further with these automations. Like, you need to provide them, and with the existing UiPath security permissions and security authorizations, you are safe to do it.
Okay. Thank you, Vajrang. I appreciate that.
Yeah, was that clear? Do you need any? You can always unmute yourself, you guys. You just click on the microphone on the bottom of your screen.
Yeah, his microphone's not working.
Okay.
All right. And then Francis, let me get you the link for the exercise. Here it is. Okay, cool. So now what we're going to do is we're going to click the manual automation button like I have highlighted here. Okay, so this is the Studio Web Automation Builder. I'm going to give you just a little bit of a high-level tour on the Studio Web, but nothing that we don't really need all these options today, but just to get you a little bit more familiarity with what you're looking at right now. So I'm going to start over here on the far left, and this is the Project Explorer. So for the Project Explorer, you can manage project files using this option. So you can rename or delete a file or folder or duplicate a workflow file, for example. Then underneath that, we have, and you don't have to follow along for this, I'm just going to click on buttons so that y'all can see what it looks like. So you can just watch right now. Underneath that, we have change history. So this gives you an overview of a project's version history, showing you the current active version and the timestamp for the latest change. It'll also indicate whenever you publish the automation. So this would be a really great menu to kind of see what it looks like after we get to the very end and are able to publish our automations. We then have test on cloud, which allows you to test your workflow, and it'll run the entire workflow, compared to test step by step, which will go through the workflow, each activity one by one. So you can check each step as it happens, especially if you're trying to troubleshoot or find any issues. That can be a great option for you. We will click on the publish button today. So when you click on that, it publishes the project to Orchestrator for the robots to be able to then run our automation. And then we have submit as template. So this is when you generate a template. So maybe you generate automation that you want to be available as a template for future projects. So this can serve as a starting point for automations in the future. So for example, I was doing an automation the other day that was like going through Excel and sending out emails. That's something I do pretty frequently. Honestly, I don't know why I haven't made that as a template yet, but that could be a great template. So then you just change out the Excel file, or maybe you just add one activity or two, but you already have a great foundation. We then have the properties panel. So I don't have any activity selected right now, but the properties panel is very similar if you have any experience with Studio or Studio X, where you can do advanced settings or do changes or specifications to any activity that we have added to our workflow. We then have data manager. So the data manager lets you manage all the data as it suggests in your automation project. Like with the variables we'll be using today, we'll see that in our data manager. You can also manage arguments, entities. So this comes from your UiPath data service, and connections or links between your automation and external applications. We have 2 more panels to look at. So the next one underneath that is run output. So this window offers real-time updates on each step of the automation and highlights any errors whenever you run the automation. So this can be a great place to look to see kind of what error messages you're getting if you're trying to debug or troubleshoot your automation. And then the final one is the watches panel. So if you run the project and test it step by step, this is a great panel to go to because it keeps track of the values of your variables. So if you're wanting to test to make sure that, you know, the robot is getting the right text and assigning it to the variable correctly, this can be a great way to kind of monitor what the values of your variables or arguments or expressions are and your workflow progresses. And again, this is a lot more information probably than you needed today, but just so you can kind of at least be aware or hear what are the different possibilities with this Studio Web interface, because it is a little bit different than Studio and Studio X, but you do see some similarities like with the data manager and the properties panel. So that's just kind of a quick overview of everything. So then now that I've given you a little bit of an overview, we will start and add our first activity. So again, if you're following along in the directions, we are on the bottom of page 5. So I'm going to click on the Add Activity button right here. And then I'm going to search for the activity for each row. Oh, I got in caps lock, but it's fine. For each row in a spreadsheet. And make sure that whenever you do that, it's for the Google Workspace because we are doing everything in Google today. As soon as you see this loaded up, you can click on it and it'll be added to your workflow. So again, I just clicked on the plus button right under here underneath manual trigger. I search for each row in spreadsheet, kind of crazy. And then you can just click on it and add it to your workflow as soon as you see it appear. Right, so I'm going to do that myself. All right, so then you'll see that it already automatically pulled in that connection that I had set up previously with the integration service. Don't worry that mine has number 2 after it. It's just because I deleted my connection so that I could do it here live with you all today. So if it looks, you just have your email address, that looks more accurate than probably what's showing on my screen right now. We're then going to select which spreadsheet that we would like to do. So I'm going to click on the
Michaela?
folder. Yes.
Could you make your browser larger?
Yes. Thank you so much for saying that, Karen. Yes, I can definitely do that. I don't want anyone to have to get microscopes out. Thank you. Okay, so we have the for each row spreadsheet. I'm going to click on the folder icon. I have to double click to open my drive. Once I do that, I'm going to navigate until I see unicorn name iterations. I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to press save. So this is just indicating to Studio Web which Google Sheet that we are currently using. If you do not see unicorn name iterations, then you need to go back to your Google Drive and make sure that it is there. You have to make sure that you save it to your Google Drive and not just leave it as a shared file. So that's one thing that I learned through this process, is it has to be a saved file in your Google Drive. So again,
Post that link again for that file.
Yeah, of course, no worries. So if you have the exercise folder open, it's on the first page, but I'll also put it here for quick reference. So let me go back to my Google Drive. Sorry, one sec. Let me open it up. I just don't want y'all to, don't want to share with you guys all of my coupons that I'm getting from all the trash emails. Okay, so as you can see here, it says that it's located in my drive. So make sure that you actually saved it and you just didn't like have it where you can see it as shared. So it's very important to show that like you're the owner of that file and it's located in your drive.
Michaela, I see it in my list in my drive, but it doesn't say the owner is me.
Okay, so if it doesn't say that the owner is you, I think what you need to do is, because I also saw that Natalia is saying that we don't have editor's permissions for this file to save. So let me see if I can share it in a better way to you all right now. Okay, Karen's saying go to the original spreadsheet and select copy. You can save it as a copy. Thank y'all. Thank you so much, Katie and Karen. I appreciate that. So just try to save it as a copy.
I have the copy now, but it's still not in my, let me see if it shows up in the automation.
Okay. Sounds perfect.
It still doesn't say that I'm the owner, unfortunately.
Another thing that we can do just so that you're able to run it, it's a very simple file. So I can also put a picture in here of what the data is. So if you just want to create a blank one, you can. It's just like 7 cells of data. So I can also drop that in the chat, or you could just reference the one that I shared you. Yeah, just do that. Just reference the one that I shared you, and you can also just create a blank one in your Google Drive yourself if you need to do that for ownership, if you're having issues. Because luckily the sheet I shared does not have a bunch of data in there. All right. And also once you select the spreadsheet, you then also have to select the range. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on the drop down and select sheet 1 because that is where the data is, and make sure that the has headers is true. So that is on page 6 of the instructions. So you have your Google Sheet connection that we already set up with integration service. If you're still having issues with seeing the spreadsheet, I would recommend just creating one really quick because it only has about 8 rows of data, and you don't even have to do all the rows. You can just do 2 if you want, just for this instance. And then for the range, click the drop down and click sheet 1, and has headers is true. All right, so the next activity, I'm going to click the plus sign add activity button. I'm going to click the top one right here. I'm going to search in the box. I'm going to search for use browser. And then I'm going to click it or select it just as we did for each row in spreadsheet. So again, I clicked the add activity box, the first one that's a little bit grayed out. I search in here use browser, and I'm going to select this one and add it into the automation. The next step that I'm going to do is actually going to be a manual step. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click new tab, and I'm going to navigate to this URL that I'll also post in the chat. It's also on the top of page 8 of the directions. Yeah, Carolyn, I would just recommend going to your Google Sheets and just creating one for yourself. So just click like new Google Sheets and just really quick type in like name and birthday. And you don't even
Yeah.
have to do the same ones we do.
I
So
did
just-
that. It
Okay,
still doesn't
perfect.
work. It's there, but I still can't see it in the automation. I don't know why.
Do you want to share your screen really quick?
Sure.
All right, let me find my stop share. And then while she's doing that, everyone else can open a new tab and navigate to the link that I put in the chat. So when you click on the
Okay,
file
so-
icon for spreadsheet, what
So
happens?
here is the new one I just created that says manual.
Okay,
And
perfect.
it has me as an owner.
All
And
right,
when you click on here,
double click.
go here.
And then you called it unicorn name something or other, so.
Yeah, but it's
no.
not here. It's,
Mhm.
could it, no.
I wonder if maybe if you refresh your screen, then it will, I feel like that's what IT always tells you to do, right? Refresh, reopen something. Maybe then it will know that it's there. So it just had to update the connection that it currently has with the Google Sheet. So
Okay.
let's try that. All right, let's click on the folder icon, my drive. Cross our fingers and our toes. Yeah, there we go. All right,
Thank you.
perfect.
You're always a
Yeah.
magician.
I will hopefully my magic keeps going for the rest of the session. And then you'll just click the drop down arrow and then select sheet 1. And then add in the use browser activity. I'll share my screen again so that you can see mine. Awesome. So if you're having the same problem as Carolyn, just refresh your screen and then you should be able to see it. So going back to where we were, you want to navigate to the Find Your Unicorn Name webpage, just like I have included it in the chat. And then once you have this open, you'll then navigate back to your studio screen. You'll select for work and scope, the down arrow. It'll show you all the tabs that you have open on this browser. And you're just going to select the Find Unicorn Name. So you don't have to follow me on this, just to kind of give you, in case you haven't done Find Unicorn Name before, what we're going to do is we're going to take that information that we have in the Google Sheet, we're going to loop through it where it's going to type the name, it's going to type the month that was born, and then we're going to get the unicorn name and we'll email the unicorn names out. So you'll see that connection also with Gmail. So we're heading into doing a type into activity because we have to type in this text box, a select item activity to select which month, and then a click to get the unicorn name. So just so everyone kind of knows why we're doing what we're doing and where we're heading. So
Michaela?
now, yes, sorry.
Yeah, Michaela, excuse me. So I was on the same spot from the other person, right? So I found my Google Sheet, right? So then what do I do after I find my Google
Yeah,
Sheet?
no, once you find your Google Sheet and you have it selected, you'll then click on this arrow drop down for range and you'll select sheet 1. Just
Yes.
because that's where the data is. You'll then add an activity right underneath it. So it'll be on the first plus sign, add activity. And whenever you do that, you'll search for the activity of use browser. You'll add that into your automation. You'll then want to make sure that you have a tab open with this URL, which I also pasted in the chat. And then for the work in scope, you'll select the Find Unicorn Name tab, and then you're all caught up. And then if you were able to access instructions, because I know you were having a little bit of issues with that earlier, it's page 7 and 8 is where we currently are.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course, no worries. And then we're going to click on the top add activity again. So this one right here. And as I just mentioned, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to type into a text box. So search type into the box and select type into. I lost my annotate, one sec. So again, I clicked on this add activity box right here. I typed type into the search box. And then I'm going to select this activity. So once I select the activity, it will be added into my workflow. And just like it was in Studio, Studio X, whatever you're used to using, or type into activity, you always have to tell the robot two things. You have to tell it where to type and you have to tell it what to type. So first thing that we're going to do is tell it where to type, and we're going to do that by clicking Indicate Target on screen. It will then automatically navigate to that tab, and just as you're used to when making selections with our UI automation, you'll see the little green selector boxes pop up. You want to make sure that green selector box is around the actual text box, so where it says enter your name. Once the green box is around it, just like I'm showing here, you're going to click with your mouse once. UiPath will then work to gather the information for that selector, and then you'll see that you're good to go. And then you can press the blue confirm button shown right here. So again, all I did on the type into activity is I clicked indicate target on screen. I then had the green selector boxes appear, and I made sure my green selector box was around enter your name. Once I was sure of that, I clicked once with my mouse, and then I pressed the blue confirm button. I'm going to keep this on the screen though for about 10-20 more seconds, just to make sure everybody can reference this as they make their selections. If this is how your screen looks, go ahead and click confirm, please. All right, I'm going to go ahead and click confirm. All of these steps were on the bottom of page 8. And then for the type this, what we're going to do is I just clicked in the text box. And then I'm going to make the for each row in spreadsheet maximized. So I'm going to make the arrow, instead of pointing to the right, point down. And then I'm going to select name. And I apologize, I know this is at the very bottom of my screen, but I'm going to select name and then it'll input that into what we're going to type. So we want to make sure that we're looking. So let me do it again. I just clicked in the text box. I expanded the options for each row in spreadsheet because we wanted to loop through that spreadsheet, and I chose the data of name. It's grabbing the data of name because that was what the header is showing on that Google sheet, and we made sure to select has headers is true whenever we did our very first activity. Right. I'm going to select that myself. And now we are ready to go on to our next activity. So we are now at the top of page 9 for people following along. So again, I'm going to click the add activity box right below the previous one. So the one right here. I'm going to search for an activity called select item. And then I am going to click it just as we've done previously. And then another thing, just if you, any of the educators here, if you usually teach virtual or sometimes you teach virtual and you have the students build an automation along with you, and you would also want to do the annotations like I'm showing you all today. One thing that Christina passed on to me is I click on the annotate button on the Zoom sharing screen. I don't think that I can really share that with you all, but I click on the annotate and it then gives me a little column or menu, and then I'm able to draw, and I can decide to just draw lines, but me drawing a straight line is never going to happen. So I then make sure to change my shape to a rectangle. So if anyone's interested in that, I can take some screenshots later. Oh, look, someone else is doing it. Perfect. Thank you. So if anyone has issues ever finding that on their Zoom, feel free to just send me an email real quick. I'm happy to share some screenshots from my screen. But I've found it to be pretty helpful for the audience to follow along because it's kind of a lot to be looking at someone else's screen sometimes. Okay, So that's just an aside. So I'm going to click on select item. So again, similar to type into, we have to tell it where to select, and then we have to tell it what to select. So I'm going to click on indicate target on screen so that we can tell it where to select. And again, very similar to what was done previously, we can see the green selector boxes appearing on the screen, and it's just highlighting all the different elements that we can interact with UiPath. I'm going to make sure my green selector box is around select your birth month dropdown. Once it is, I'm going to click. UiPath is gathering the information. It looks good to me. And then I'm going to press the confirm button. I'm going to wait again a couple of seconds just in case people need to reference this for making their own selections. And this is at the top of page 9. So very similar to what was just previously done. All right, I'm going to press confirm. And then I'm actually going to click on the see more options this time, because if you click on the drop down, it just wants you to select a birth month, but we don't want it to do the same birth month for each row. We want it to loop through the spreadsheet. So since I don't see it as an option there, I'm actually going to click on this see more button to the right, and I'm going to select use variable. So similar to what we just did, we're going to expand the options for each row in spreadsheet, and we're going to select birthday month. And then I can also do that again for everybody, but you'll know that you have it correct if it says current row dot birthday underscore month. So again, I'll do that for everybody because it kind of navigates to a bunch of different screens. I click on the see more button, then select use variable. It'll look very similar to what we just saw, where I'm going to expand the for each row in spreadsheet options and select birthday month.
Michaela, I couldn't get that. I've selected the correct item, but when I go to item to select, it's just giving me the different months.
Yeah, so are you making sure to, because whenever you just click on the actual text box, so let me clear this out. So when I click on the actual text box, that's what it does for me as well. It shows the birthday months. So you have to make sure that you're selecting this see more button and
Okay.
not the actual text box.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course, no worries. And then once you click on see more, you'll click use variable, and then that's where you'll see the screen that was similar. You'll expand the for each row and select birthday month. All right. And again, that is on page 9. So next, what we're going to do is we're going to do a click activity because we need the web page to generate the unicorn name. So I'm going to click add activity and type in the search for activity click, and then select it to add it into my workflow. So again, I clicked on the add activity right here underneath the select item, search for click, select it click. Alrighty, I'm going to do that myself. I'm then going to click indicate target on screen. Luckily for clicked activities, we only have to tell it where to click. We don't have to tell it what to click. So we just have to update one property for this activity. So I'm going to click indicate target on screen very similarly. And I'm going to make sure my green selector box is around the button that says get unicorn name. As soon as my green selector box is there, I'm going to click once with my mouse. And then I'm going to press confirm. So I made sure my green selector box is around the button called Get Unicorn Name. Clicked once. Once that was done, I'm then going to press confirm. So now what I'm going to do, and what everyone's going to do, is we're going to actually manually, so this is all manual, we're doing this with our own mouse and keyboard. We're going to navigate to find unicorn name. You can type in whatever you want, but I always like to do my own because I like to see my unicorn name. So you'll type in your name. You'll type what month you were born, or not type, I'm sorry. You'll select what month you were born, and then you'll do the Get Unicorn Name. So those 3 activities that we just added in, we're now going to do those steps manually. So for me, I'm a delightful moon clover. I don't know if there's any other delightful moon clovers in the Zoom meeting, but that is my unicorn name, which I actually really like. So I lucked out. Emerald moon clover. Oh, I feel like we're in a unicorn family. I love it. Thank you, Katie. Okay, so once you have manually done that, we are then going to navigate back to our Studio Web activity, our Studio Web tab, apologies. So now we're going to get the text. So the reason that we did that manually is because the next step is to grab that text. And if we haven't done it manually, we wouldn't be able to tell Studio Web what to grab. So if there's nothing there for you to denote, like this is what I need you to, or what information I need you to save, you need to make sure that that is present on your screen so that you can tell the Studio interface that. So that's why we had to do that step manually, which is just a good thing to know for web browser automation, is that you have to manually progress the screens as you create the automations so you're able to denote what you're trying to automate. All right, so I'm going to add activity right below, just as we've been doing. I'm then going to type get text, and then I'm going to select get text. And again, add activity, search get text, and then select get text. Okay. And just in case anybody's following along or anything along those lines, we are now on page 10 out of 13. So we're doing good, guys. So now we have to tell Studio Web what text to grab. So I'm going to click on Indicate Target on Screen. I'm then going to make sure my green selector box is only around my unicorn name because that's the only data I want it to grab. I don't need it to grab name and month or anything like that. I'm just going to want it to grab my unicorn name. So once my little green box is around Delightful Moon Clover, I'm going to click. If your this is one activity where we do need the anchor just because the data does change. So if you did not have an anchor automatically pop up and you just had the target, I would then recommend for this is your unicorn name to be your anchor, because that's text that stays the same and all the properties behind it stay the same. So it'll make sure that Studio Web is able to grab the unicorn name as we loop through the file. So once you have your blue anchor box around this is your unicorn name, you can click. So then your screen should look just like mine, and then you can press the blue confirm. So again, just starting from the beginning, I clicked on Indicate Target on Screen, navigated to this tab. I made sure my green selector box was around Delightful Moon Clover or Emerald Moon Clover or Emerald Crystal Dazzler, whatever your name is. And then make sure your blue anchor box is around this is your unicorn name, and press confirm. I don't think I've ever said the word unicorn in an hour as much as I have today. So that's been something new for me. Okay, so once you've done that, let me delete my annotations and do it myself. We have just one more activity to do. So I'm then going to click on add activity right below again. I'm then going to do send email. With the send email, I'm going to make sure I'm doing it with the Google Workspace just because that's where we set up our connector earlier to send the email with Gmail. But as you can see, there are other options and other connectors or connections that you can make to send your email from other interfaces. Or other, not interfaces, I guess, other technologies or platforms. So I will be selecting this one. All right, so I already have that Gmail connection all set up and good to go. Personal preference, you can save this as draft or you can send it. I guess it depends on who you decide to send these unicorn names to. I'm just going to send them to myself, but if you want to send it to someone else, I guess you can. So it's up to you if you want to save as draft or if you don't want to save as draft for this. And then it's just a nice option if you're wanting to test your automation before you commit to sending to have that as an option. I'm then just going to click into the to box and type my email address. And then press enter. So then you can see my email address is right there. And I'm just using my personal email address today just because that's the Google or the Gmail that I connected to. For the subject, it can be anything you want. Again, I'm just clicking in the text box, typing unicorn name, pressing enter. Or you don't have to press enter for that one. You can just click outside. And then for the body, I'm going to enter the text. So for today, I'm just going to keep it simple, but if you wanted to use this automation in your classrooms or for another activity, of course, you could make it a little bit more intense, but I just wanted to keep it pretty simple today so y'all could see the emails being sent. So I'm just going to do, here is your unicorn name with the semicolon. I'm then going to underneath get text. I'm going to select the text value so that you'll see that right there as the variable. So that just because it's in the blue text, it's going to change every time that it loops through. So we'll get to see all the different unicorn values. So I know I went through that kind of fast. Let me go through it again. All I did was add an activity of send email. Make sure the icon next to send email looks similar to mine because that means that it's connected to your Gmail. Then you're going to type in the to of whatever your email address is. The subject is unicorn name. I manually typed in again, here is your unicorn name. And then for text value, I just use this variable drop down and made sure to select underneath get text, the text value. All right. So now what I'm going to do and what everybody else to do is I'm going to test this on the cloud just to see if I get any error messages or anything to pop up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on test on cloud up here in the top left and then watch the automation run. So then you can see your output panel pops up, the one that I was mentioning earlier. And the output panel is just like you would see in Studio, just like you would see in Studio X. It lets you know which packages or what the robot's doing, where it's navigating to. And you can also even see a preview of it running through each activity, and it's testing them all to make sure everything would be running successfully. So far it looks good for my automation. But please do either put in the chat or get off mute if you're running into any issues as you're running your automation. So you see a lot of similarities with Studio and Studio X, but you definitely do see some clear differences. Yay, successful. All right, we got a pause. Okay, so maybe try running it again, and then if you're still running into the same issue, we can have you share your screen, just so that we can get some more information. All right, was anyone else successful? Yay, yay, awesome, great news. Great, great, great. I'm happy to see all this. Positive. All right, what I'm gonna do is okay, it showed failed on use browser. Okay, would you mind sharing your screen for us just so that we can see what's going on? Let me find my screen share really quick, sorry. All right, just because it's always good to get the errors, especially on recording in case anybody runs into problems later. And then can you make it your full page and maybe zoom in a little bit? I now see what you were saying, Karen. It was probably hard to see my screen. Thank you. All right, work in scope, find unicorn name, URL. All right, and you have the find unicorn name opened up in tab. Okay, failed, successful, success. Oh, for the get text. So it's not actually your the browser, it's the get text. All right, so scroll down to your get text activity. So that's going to be underneath your click activity. So scroll down some more, please. Okay, so what we're going to do is we need to edit your selector for this. So 1 second. So click on the little menu button in the top right window. And what we're going to do is click on indicate target on screen. So right on below where failed is, so down a little bit more, that menu button. Oh, we might have to click stop first. I apologize. So click stop first, and that's in the top left. Yeah, awesome. And then yes, click on indicate target on screen. Perfect. So make sure the green selector box is right there, correct, on the fancy Crystal Dazzler. Very nice name. And then that looks good, and then press confirm. All right, thanks for joining us, Chris. All right, and then can you try running it again for us and see if we still get an error message coming up?
I think it's somewhere here, no?
No, you're running good.
Yeah, okay.
You're good to go. Okay, awesome.
Thank
I'm
you.
going to take it from you. No worries.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
All right, does anyone else have any issues? All right, I will take everybody's silence for positivity because I saw a lot of great messages in the chat, so we're going to go forward. So the next step is just for you to be able to publish the automation and run it whenever you would like. So what we're going to do, we're now on page 12 of the directions, and we're going to click on the publish button right here. And then you're going to give your automation a name. I believe in the directions, I said to type in unicorn name. And then you're going to click the blue publish button. So again, I clicked publish from the very top left portion of the screen. I then typed in the name. You can do whatever you would like. Doesn't matter, just remember what you name it, I guess. So in the directions, I did unicorn name and then click publish. All right, let me delete my drawings and do it myself. I'm gonna have to give mine a different name because I already have, I think, unicorn name saved. I'm gonna click publish. So we have now published our automation, and then we're gonna click on the main menu and we're gonna go to Orchestrator. And again, if you were teaching your course and you just wanted to stop where we stopped, you definitely can. But if you want to go through and also show different opportunities with Orchestrator, you can as well. So I definitely say that this is definitely optional for your class, and I can always share the directions via Word. So if you want to delete it, you can. If you want to keep it, great. So all about your preference. Personal preference. There we go. So then you're going to select automations from the screen. And then you can see any and all of your automations that you have published. So I've published a couple of them. I don't really publish too often, but I do every once in a while. And then you're going to, let me see if I can zoom in on the screen too really quick. Okay, I got really zoomed. Okay, that's about as zoomed in as I can get. Sorry about that. So wherever you see your unicorn automation, you're going to go to the far right, my apologies, and you'll see a little play button where you can click start a job. So again, that button doesn't pop up until you have that row highlighted. So I'm having a hard time annotating because my mouse has to be in certain places. But just go to the far right on that row and click the little play button or the arrow and click start a job. And then you can just click start. So then now my automation is running. So it's gonna show the state of it. It started 1 second ago. Let me get my Gmail up while it's doing that. And then it was successful and took about 38 seconds. Again, I'll open up my drafts folder so it shows it in there twice because it did it with my test and on also when I just published the automation and ran it. So again, I know it's not the most, informative email by any means. So you can definitely make different changes for and for some reason I was getting multiple, so I need to look into that. But it shows the emails with your unicorn names. So I might have to look into my own group. So the reason that it's in your draft folder, Karen, let me navigate back to Studio. So it depends on how confident you feel in your automation, I guess. But yeah, exactly what Jeffrey's saying right there. All you have to do is toggle over on that activity and select save as draft as false. So whenever you do that, it'll automatically send the emails out. So I usually personally, when I'm creating automations with email, I like to keep it as a draft until I feel confident, then I switch it over. So you would just click false. All right. Well, while everyone else is finishing up their automations, Ms. Rang, would you like to give a little bit of information about yourself and what you wanted to share with us about Studio Web? Or would you prefer me to give information about possible trainings they can use now that they have some Studio Web skills in their pocket? I'm good with either order. Okay, I'll got it. All right, so this is Studio Web. I just wanted to show it to you guys because I do see with our Academy team, I see more training coming out with Studio Web, but there is still training that is out there and present with Studio X. I just know that for some universities, it's super easy to get our software installed in computer labs. Some, kind of struggle a little bit and they're trying to, use less. So sometimes we do see interest in some of our educators wanting to branch out and actually use our new Studio Web project. So I'm going to switch over to our UiPath Academic Alliance partner portal. So this is our new educator platform. If you've been around for a while, you can, you're probably used to us having a SharePoint. Sorry, I got distracted remembering. You're used to us having a SharePoint, but we now have this Academic Alliance partner portal. If you need the link to this, here's the link. So you'll just type that in there. If you've never accessed this web page before, you'll just click first time here and create login information. If you're having any issues with creating your login information, please drop your name in the chat or send me an email after this session. I might just have to set up your user access in the background. Happy to do that. As soon as I do that, you can definitely get access to this educator platform. So again, it's just at this URL. I can open it in an incognito window really quick. And if you've never accessed it, then all you have to do is click first time here, register. If you're having any issues, I might just have to make it so that you can access the web page because we do want to keep it private only to educators, just so none of your students can sneak on here and find any answers that maybe they're not supposed to. So this is the homepage for the portal. I went over this a little bit yesterday, so please do check out the trainings that I did yesterday, and I really kind of focused on the first couple pages. Today, I just really want to focus on, you're interested in Studio Web or you're interested in Studio X. Both are really great options. What training do you recommend? What's new out there if you've been around for a while? That's kind of what I wanted to focus on today. So the two main learning plans, whenever I have educators come to me and say, I don't want to use the studio and get really techie, but, I really like Studio Web, Studio X. What do you recommend? My two things that I always recommend to educators is citizen developer or the business analyst content, or a mixture of the both. So we have educators that just use citizen developer content. We have educators that just do BA, and then we also have educators that like to do a mixture. So basically the big difference between citizen developer and the business analyst content is citizen developer, basically what that person is as a company. So like I'm a citizen developer at UiPath, and what that means is that I'll create automations for my team. So if we need something that needs to be automated that's very small, like, filtering through an Excel file, maybe using an if activity, like if, this person's located here, whatever the situation might be, send out an email. Or if, my team needs us to, like maybe scrape some data and filter that out in Excel, I can create those smaller automations for my team. So that makes me a citizen developer. I'm comfortable with the tool, but I'm not automating those full end-to-end automation invoice processing processes. We leave that to the experts of the automation developers. So long story short, that's kind of the citizen developer. You're a lot more hands-on with the technology and you're really kind of getting in and automating some tasks. Business analyst is a lot more with the process discovery. So they're going to be a lot less hands-on on the technology. So they still do have to create an automation with the business analyst associate content that we currently have available, but you're only creating one. Most of it is focusing on, process definition, how to define a process as it is, and then how would you define that process to be automated, what makes a process best suitable for automation, looking at return on investment on a company. So it's a lot more looking at the discovery phase and what processes are best suited for automation. So it kind of depends, like, do you want your students to have a lot of hands-on experience? I would take most of your content from citizen developer. If you want them to have a little hands-on experience, but you really want them to understand, kind of what's the benefits of automation for a company, then I would kind of point them to the business analyst. Another example, I'm just trying to throw a lot at you and just kind of get your brains and creativity going. Another example of an educator that we have is what they'll do is they'll assign courses from the citizen developer learning plan as homework, and then they'll go through the business analyst content live in class. So they're like, I still want to do stuff with my students. I don't really want to build automations with them. What could I do? So he has them do the hands-on experience, self-led learning plans through Academy. And then he'll teach the business analyst content more in class and kind of focus more on the theoretical, for lack of a better word, and kind of get the best of both worlds. So, here we're never going to tell you like, you have to do this, you have to do that. I'm just trying to kind of give you as much information and facts, but of course I'd be happy to have any conversations with people if they're just, needing a little bit more personalization on what content they want to use. So I'm going to briefly mention Citizen Developer today, but Citizen Developer is going to be going through some updates. So if anyone's using Citizen Developer this spring, don't worry, this learning plan is going to be live for the rest of the semester. So currently the Citizen Developer Foundation is all in Studio X, all version 2021.10. So at the end of this month, what they're going to do is they're actually going to make 2 Citizen Developer learning plans live. One's going to be solely Studio X and one's going to be solely Studio Web. So that was another reason that I wanted to get educators some experience with Studio Web, see if they like it and they want to kind of move forward and kind of commit to Studio Web. There will be more content coming out. If you're planning on teaching UiPath this spring, I do apologize for it coming on January 31st. That's kind of tough if you're then trying to include it in the spring semester. So maybe that's something you aspire to next year. I completely get it, but just to kind of give you a heads up in what direction we're heading into. So you can still use the Citizen Developer Studio X here for this semester. It's still going to be good to go. They're going to update it eventually. It'll probably be in 2024.10 if I had to guess. So that link will probably go live end of January, beginning of February. And then they'll also have the new training with Studio Web. So we do, as our Academic Alliance program, send out a newsletter every other month. I know newsletters are like another email. I can't believe they are sending these out. But it does have some good information, like when we have these new learning plans being added and made available to y'all. So definitely make sure to look out for the newsletter and it'll have that information. So I just wanted to do that information on the Citizen Developer. Some other great content, if you're wanting to use more of the Studio Web, Studio X tool, is our Business Analyst Associate content. So in the past, we've historically only had Business Analyst Professional content. So this is a little bit newer. So basically what they did is they took the whole Business Analyst Professional Learning and they just chopped it down and made a small section as the BA Associate content. So the BA Associate content is only about 15 to 20 hours of content. They are going to get hands-on in the Introduction to Automation and create a Studio Web exercise. But all of these other courses, Introduction to UiPath Business Automation Platform, methodologies, fundamentals, and deep dive. So these other courses, they're not going to be hands-on on the technology. So for some educators, they're like, this is exactly what I want. This is great. Some want more hands-on. Just kind of depends on what you want your students' outcomes to be. The one thing I will say that the BA Associate has a leg up over the Citizen Developer is we recently did launch a certification exam associated with this training. So if you want your students to be able to leave your course with a certification, maybe something that you want to check out, but again, not pushing you, just wanting you to be aware of all the opportunities here. So if you do decide that you want your students to get the certification, we recently launched, and sorry, I'm just bringing a lot of information out, y'all, and then I'll stop talking and I'll answer questions. Sometimes I get on a roll. For this BA Associate content, there is a certification, and we recently launched our Student Recognition Initiative. So with this initiative, students are able to get 100% free certifications, and this is a certification they can take for 100% free. So we have a whole page on our portal dedicated to kind of explaining the process. But overall, all we're trying to do with this process is number one, confirm the students did go through the training before we give them 100% off discount on the certification. Number two, confirm that they're in your class. And number three, confirm that you're an active member of our Academic Alliance. If those three things are true, we're happy and we want the students to get certified. Patrick, that's a great question. Professors can go through and do the process themselves. So all you have to do is fill out this prospective certified student form. Again, the language is going to be a little bit confusing as an educator, but just go through and put in all your information. You can say that you, Patrick, are the educator and you, Patrick, are the student. we'll be able to verify everything and get you that discount. This is a new process that we just launched about 2 months ago. So if you do run into any issues or errors, please let us know. We want to make sure the process is working great for everybody. We have had students and educators move through, but again, it's a recent process launch, so please let us know if you run into issues. So here you'll get to see the workflow and kind of how the information is passed along. So the student fills out this form, or educator, and then you will provide that to the students. You'll confirm that that student is in your course. So you'll just get an email. You'll click yes, no if that student is in your course. We'll then confirm that you are an active member of the Academic Alliance. And all of that information is here on step 4, how you can make sure that you're in good standing. Students or educators will receive access to this assessment. It's very short, about 20 questions. Depending on what you get is depending on what you get. So if you get 70% or higher, you'll get a digital credential and 100% free certification voucher. So just a great opportunity if you are wanting to, you know, do the BA Associate. This is also available if you want your students to go through the Automation Developer Associate Learning, which I'll be going into more detail with on Friday, because that is associated with our studio platform.
Michaela,
Yes, please stop me.
students are able to take this journey without paying. They just can't receive a certificate or credential if they, like, even if they don't score 70%, let's say they score 50%, is it still free for them?
No, so it's a certification voucher of only 50%. So I know that makes it kind of difficult for your courses a little bit. The one thing I will say is that the assessment that they're taking is at least 1 or 2 steps lower in the difficulty of the certification. So it's definitely an easier one. So if they did the training, I can't guarantee it, but they have a really good chance to get that 100% free off.
So when they create the form or submit the form, they have to use payment information?
No.
No.
So what they'll get whenever they fill it out, and let's say they did get a 50%, they'll automatically be sent to their email that 50% off voucher code. So just like, you know, when you check out at any online website, they'll still go to Pearson VUE, they'll sign up for that certification, they'll put that voucher code in, and then it'll reduce the total of their certification to 50% off. So all the payment information is done after this process is completed. We're basically trying to give them like a voucher code or, you know, anything that you would get while like online shopping. Does that make sense or not really?
Yeah, so I'm a little bit confused. They'll take whatever exam is given?
So whenever the students will fill out this form, so let me navigate to it here. So the students, you'll make this form available for students. So they'll go through and, oh, that's not correct. I need to update that. So I'm glad I clicked on it here with y'all. I apologize. So they'll go to the form, and basically in that form, what they're putting is they're putting their name, they're putting their university and what educator is teaching them. And then they'll have a box where they'll select either Automation Developer Associate or Business Analyst Associate certification. Once that's done, it's going to kick off an email to you, and it'll say, let's say I fill it out. Is Michaela Rosemeyer a student of your course? Yes or no? So as soon as you click yes, that'll then get sent back to us. We'll make sure that you're an educator in good standing with the Academic Alliance. You are an educator in good standing. Then what it's going to do is it's going to send it's going to send the student certification voucher assessment. It's going to be short 20 questions. Depending on what grade they get is depending on what that student will receive. So the students will receive the quiz, they'll take it. If they get a 50%, for example, then it'll send them an email with their 50% off voucher code. If they get an 80%, then it'll send them 100% free voucher. So then they'll go to Pearson VUE because that's where all our certifications are. They'll sign up for the actual certification exam and put that discount code in. There we go.
Okay, so they take like a little mini certification.
Yes.
Yes, okay, I got it.
Yes, and that's just to prove that they did receive the training. Like, we're not trying to trick people out of not getting the certification voucher. It's just we're not trying to, you know, just willy-nilly kind of, for lack of better words, willy-nilly give voucher codes out. We want to make sure we're giving it to students that have gone through and done the training or learning specific for that certification. That's the only reason. And then the following questions, do certifications expire or is there, yeah, so they do expire. I believe the current amount of time right now is 3 years is for how long they last. So that is good for, you know, if they take it sophomore year, it's still viable for whenever they're trying to get jobs. Let me try to find the certification information on a web page so that you can check and see where that is loaded, because I know it's somewhere, but I don't know off the top of my head really quick. Can students take the assessment more than once? Yes, they can take the assessment more than once, but you are going to have to reach out to me and communicate that you want them to take it more than once and you think that they're a viable option. As of right now, we kind of have it coded in whether it's not. So I'm not taking it off the table, but we're not wanting for that to really happen super often, but we are willing to make exceptions. And then let me really quick just go to our certification page and see if I can find the expiry dates really quick. And then Jeffrey, we have to go through the Academic Alliance portal to get the educator certs right now, Academy within UiPath. Can you expand on that question a little bit for me if you don't mind?
Yeah, so if I go in through like UiPath, I could see Academy and I could see a bunch of classes I could take and all that stuff, but it seems like that's not where I should be going to get the educator digital credentials or whatever.
Yes, that's correct.
So I guess my question is, I would have to go through here. Is that right?
Yeah, so here for the digital credentials, so for like the student recognition initiative, I apologize, this form link is incorrect, so I'll fix that right after this. But like to find out like this form information, and then also if you were to navigate to educator credentials, this has all the information and of your educator credentials. And then if you were to go to like Academy, of course, you can get recognized for going through your Academy learning plans. And this is where you can see that information. I'm not logged in. Are you trying to find, I'm sorry, I feel like I'm not answering your question. Are you trying to find ones that you've already earned, or are you just trying to find information on which digital credentials you can earn?
I guess what I'm trying to ask is, where do you take the classes? Is it through Academy?
Yes, it is through Academy. I knew I wasn't answering your question,
Gotcha.
so I apologize. Yeah, so on any of these courseware pages, we wanted to create these just so that you could see both the ILT, which is just the instructor-led content, and the learning plans here. But when you actually go through to take like the self-led training course, you'll enroll in this course using this link. So that link will just take you to the Academy.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I apologize. I got there eventually. And then for the certification information, I did find that for everybody, and I can include this link. So if you're wanting to find out more information about certifications in general, you can go here. So uipath.com/learning/certification. So this is another great resource if you want to check anything out. So it lists all the different certifications that we have available. As of right now, the 100% free is only for the Automation Developer Associate and the BA Associate, just because that's typically the level up to which students get through at universities. If there's other certifications that you would like to be, that they would like to see to be included, please let me know. I'd be happy to share that with my manager, and hopefully we can get those added as well. So definitely not saying these are the only ones that will forever be. So if you want to know more information about certification, you can click on it and you get a little bit of information, but I would also recommend clicking on Read Exam Overview. That's going to open up a PDF about that certification. I'm going to scroll to the top, hopefully not make people dizzy. So it'll have kind of a table of contents. It'll give you information about the target audience, the products that are covered, exam topics, so you can get real down into the nitty-gritty of what's available or what's included in that certification. And then also what it's going to have on here is it's going to have the information about the validity period, so 3 years. I got it right. So 3 years is how long it's valid for, what the duration is, passing score, and then that would be the exam fee if they weren't students of Academic Alliance. So that's a great place to find out more information, is that Does anyone have any other questions about citizen developer, about BA associate content, certifications? Oh, one other thing. Actually, I'll wait for questions. Sorry, I get excited.
Michaela, maybe when you're done, I'm not able to get into the Academic Alliance partner portal. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, no, definitely. Whenever we're done, I'm happy to help you, Carolyn.
Okay.
And then one other thing I wanted to share with you guys is this exercises tab. So what we have here are different exercises currently. The only exercises that we have on here are Studio X. I'm hoping during through the semester to add some more for Studio and for Studio Web. So these are other exercises that you can use. I'm sure some of you have done this one with us, the scraping the NASDAQ data from Yahoo Finance. So it'll have the title of the exercise with the information, which product, a time estimate, and then you can download the instructions. All the instructions are in Microsoft Word. So you can just make any edits or any specializations that you want to do for that class. And another thing I like to say while I have an audience of educators, if any of y'all have any ideas of the exercises that you would love to see on the screen, something that you teach that you'd love to be automated, please do just send me an email. I'm not promising that I can get it done right that second, depending on what the workload is, but I'm always looking to add to this page to have more exercises that are relevant to your specific fields. So if you're ever like, oh, I wish they had this or this, please feel free to send it over and I'd be happy to try to work to get that included for everybody. Katie, you can wait to fill out the survey till after Friday session if you'd like. So then you can just fill it out once. That's totally fine for the feedback survey. So yeah, if you're coming again on Friday, you don't have to fill it out once every time. So, do the exercises work on UiPath Studio? Is that the question? Okay. So yeah, they'll work on UiPath Studio. They'll just be probably a little bit of differences just because the platform is a little bit different. So it's not going to be one for one exactly the same, but the general gist of it and the activities that you're adding in should be the same, but you are going to notice slight differences in it. So it would be pretty easy to translate over, but I just don't want you to expect a direct kind of one-to-one relationship. And there is a capstone project that we have on here as well. That's in studio that I'm definitely going to share with y'all on Friday. So if you come Friday or watch the recording, that's definitely additional exercise you can use.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. All right. So I'm going to end a little bit early. I'm definitely going to stick around and ask more questions. So if anybody does have questions, I would love to answer those for you, but I'm not going to keep you here just to keep you here. So I know y'all are all really busy, but thank you all so much for sticking with me and building out this automation with Studio Web. I had a great time with y'all. It was great to get this experience myself. I'm also going to drop my email again in the chat. So please do reach out to me if you have any questions. Yes, I'm on it, Karen. So let me get my email on here. So please do reach out to me. I don't even know if I really introduced myself. Hi, Michaela Rosemar, Program Manager for the United States Universities. My colleague Aria is currently traveling and she's in charge of Canada and LATAM. But reach out to me and I can get you in contact with her, whatever the situation is. Thank y'all.
Thanks, Michaela. And thank you everybody for attending. Again, we'll have another session on Friday. So please make sure you join. And with that, I'll stop the recording. Thank you.